Hello and good evening. This is Nancy Reynolds, Stampin' with Nutsy. You can find me on Facebook as Stampin' with Nutsy, or my blog is https://stampinwithnutsy.blogspot.com. And I want to thank you for joining me for their Suite of the Month. It's a beautiful suite. I have chosen for this project to only use the Designer Series paper. It is Expressions in Ink. And can you see all of that gorgeous gold detail? So it's a specialty Designer Series paper. And I have chosen the Evening Evergreen colors. It's got a little bit of soft succulent in it and lovely gold accents. We are making a box tonight and using Evening Evergreen cardstock with our beautiful Designer Series paper. And this little box is big enough to hold the mini jam jars that we sell in our catalog. It's in the Sweet of Peach suite, I believe is where you'd find them in the annual catalog. And I put a little Dove chocolate in mine. The lid's on. It's got a cute little card that's decorated. You can write a little note. And let's get started. I'm going to start by switching over the camera to my computer. It's Expressions in Ink. Let's see if I can get that larger. And if you would like to take a quick snapshot of this, it's got all of the cutting directions. I want to first say that I was inspired by sallystampers.com. She had a lovely box that fit the mini jam jar perfectly. I did make a few adjustments in the imperial measurements. I did not adjust the centimeters or the metric measurements. I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. I didn't make the project in metric. So it's 7 3/4 inches by 7 3/4 inches for the box bottom, scored on each side at 2.75 inches. And Designer Series paper, it's got a top, and then I designed a little card to go with it, to put on the very top of it. So I'm going to go back to the desktop, or the craft table, and let's get started. I have already cut out my paper. So the cardstock is, as I've mentioned, 7 3/4 inches by 7 3/4 inches. And then on all four sides, I scored it at 2.75 inches. Now, we're going to take our snips and we're going to make tabs because we need to be able to fold it and glue it together. I have also gone through and on each side and burnished each side with my bone folder, because when you're making a 3D project, you want to make sure you've got good crisp folds. I am going to take square number 1, which is closest to me on the left, cut up to the score line, skip a square, and then to the last square and cut at the fold line. And I'm going to do it on this side. So cut on that score. And I'm going to do it on the other side. And then I'm going to show you that we need to adjust these tab sizes a little bit. It's really a pretty small box. So if we tried to put it together like this, it won't work, because the tabs are so long. So you're going to do a little tab surgery. Grab your snips. You only need enough to glue to. So really, you can cut away the majority of those 4 outside squares. And mine I'm not cutting quite even, but that's okay. You're going to take those and put them in your scrap bin, because you never know when you need a small scrap of cardstock. And then you're going to do just a little more cutting. You're going to make some little triangles. We're going to miter those corners on the tabs, on our short little tabs. It helps to get rid of some bulk. It helps the edges line up better. So, as you can see, I'm doing it on each side on the short little tabs. And managing to make it look awkward. It really isn't that hard. Now, I was thinking, when I put my box together for the first time, I put it together, glued it, and then I put the designer series paper on. And it has occurred to me that it might be easier. Let's see, when this folds up, it's going to be just like this. So this is the side. These four sides are going to get our designer series paper. I was thinking it might be easier to put together, quicker, and maybe even more efficient if we put the glue on first. Let's see. We put our designer series paper. So I want to use the side with the gold because I love bling. You might want to use the side that's really very colorful. I might have cut that a little bit long, but that can be adjusted. And I will show you how to do that in just a moment. We'll get our other two sides on. Now, when I was doing this with the measurements, this is one of the measurements I changed, is I wanted these to be a little bit longer. She had hers coming up to not quite to the top. And I wanted the option of having it come up a little further, so I cut mine a little longer. Let's do the fourth side here, and then I will adjust those edges. I didn't realize I mismeasured when I was cutting. So you can see there's just a little bit hanging over the edge. If you turn it on the inside, it's very easy to trim those edges flush with your cardstock. They're easy to see, easy to cut. This one was not too bad. There we are. Now, pretty. I do like that gold. I used tear and tape to put this together because tear and tape is such a good, strong adhesive. It's a double-sided sticky tape, and you'll notice this is how it's going together. So these are the four spots I want my tear and tape. Let's see. Let me find that end again. I just had it. There it is. The nice thing about tear and tape, besides the fact that it's really a great holding tape, is it tears. That one tore a little long. You can also snip it with your snips. Shorten it up to where it needs to be. I will admit that sometimes, often, because I don't love little torn edges, I will use my snips to cut it. But we're going to try and do it this way. There we go. That tore perfectly. One more. And then what you're going to want to do is burnish. You want to make sure that adhesive is stuck down. And you can take your pick tool and loosen one of the edges so you can pull it up once it's down. And 3. Missed that little edge. And here we go. Now we're just going to put our box together, which is very simple. You pull your side up, match it, and press it together. And you just do that all the way around your box. Give it a little press. And one more. And there we have a box. The lid is just as easy to make, except there's one little thing I want to show you. I'm going to bring in, because you need your lid to be just a smidge wider than your box top so it goes on and off. So what I did when I was scoring, so the top is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 1 inch on all 4 sides. Mostly it's scored at 1 inch. You need to take, and this is exactly how I did it. I didn't have my scoreboard, so I'm using my trimmer that's got the score blade. If I put it right at 1 inch to score it, it would be too big or too small. Anyway, it just needs a smidge. So you're going to minus a smidge. And what I did is I took, can you see this? Let me bring it up. So here's the 1 inch line. Here are my centimeter lines. You'll notice that's a smidge right there from the inch to the centimeter. So I took a piece of paper, cardstock. I went to 1 inch, and then I moved it over the smidge to that centimeter mark. Did my score lines on all 4 sides. And then we're going to do the very same thing we did with the other, except we don't have to shorten our tabs. Our tabs are actually in pretty good shape. We've got lots of room for that. I am, however, going to miter the corners here. You don't have to do it quite as big as I did there. Just to give it, take away a little bit of that bulk, help it to fit a little bit better in your corners and along your edges. I also like it if I can cut out that little fold, the score line, because that's a little bit bulky. There we are. One more. One more sliver off. There we are. I want you to know I am not throwing my scraps on the ground. It may look like I am. I have a garbage can right under my table by my feet. Now, again, if we fold this up, we can see that the designer series paper is going to go on the opposite side. So I have a piece cut of the pretty pink with gold. So I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm glad I decided to try doing this with the putting the paper on first. That seems to work. The back that was so pretty of that green with the gold running through it that we used, that Evian Evergreen and Soft Succulent, is really pretty. So I thought that I cut, and to be honest, almost all of the decorating here is being done with scraps left over from other cards. Since it's got the same colors, I thought I would put it on the outside to make my box sides. It really is beautiful paper on both sides. And then one more, and we are decorated. My little glue holder took a tumble. Now what we need to do is we need to put our tear and tape in these spots to hold our box together. That's a little long. See if I can get that off my finger. Let's see if I can just cut this. It is definitely easier for me to cut it and put it on than to try and tear it. I'm not sure why that is. I see other people doing it so easily and simply. Okay. We'll burnish and then remove the backing. This is a gift that really shows how much you care about the person you're giving it to. Because it does take a little bit of time to put together a box. It's not that it's super hard. Okay. One of the things I normally would have done is try to dry fit it and see if it fit properly. So I did not. Sometimes my measurements are not perfect. And I'll show you what I do with that. Because sometimes I do things the hard way. It's easier to see it. Okay, let's see. Does it work? You can just kind of squeeze your corners in. This is a tight one, but yes, it will work. Now what I wanted to do is make a little card to go with it. So I did a little 2x4 piece of cardstock. I scored it at 2 inches, which is in half. Then I scored it in another 1/4 inch over, so 2 1/4 inches. And I've put tear and tape on it. I am going to glue my little basic white piece down on the inside. On my sample card, whoops, I cut a little smaller piece and glued it down. On this one, I had cut a larger piece and I cut a little sliver, just, I think my piece is 1 7/8 inches by 1 7/8, my white. And I just cut a little piece of designer series paper to make it look pretty. I'm going to remove the backing. I'm making a little book fold card. There we are. And I have a little piece of designer series paper that matches to go on the front. Just to look pretty. And I believe it is 1 7/8 by 1 5/8 inch. Whereas the white one on the inside was 1 7/8 by 1 7/8 inch. And I did not convert that to metric, I'm sorry. But it's such a cute little fuzzy thing. And then I thought, with this one, I had a flower right in the middle. And so I loaded it up with rhinestone gems for the center. But I think I'll just put a couple of, no, first I'm going to put on the bow. I did a bow in our evening evergreen ribbon. And I'll grab my glue dots. Do you ever have problems with your glue dots rolling all over? I saw this idea. It's a little bread tie. And I just wrap it around, not too tight. And I can unroll it and get my glue dots. And I can roll it back up. I tend to do my ribbons that way too, and I use a piece of the ribbon as I cut a ribbon and tie it in a double knot, and then it kind of keeps that little tail end under control. Okay, there's the glue dot. Let's put this down right here because I want to be able to lift up my card. See, the whole thing will just lift up. And this tail is a little too... Oops, those weren't my ribbon scissors. I try to keep one pair of snips set aside to cut ribbon with because scissors dull quickly. They cut fine with paper, but ribbon just takes a little bit extra. And let's see. I'm just going to put that on with a couple more glue dots, I think, along my little bookbind edge. And I'm just going to set it on the top. You can write your little note. You can fill it with the jam jar, another jam jar, or you could take and just fill it with chocolate. You can get even more in it that way. I'm in a chocolate mood. It's a good thing I don't have any more in the house. So here we are. We've got our Evening Evergreen box. Notice this one is a little bit smaller than this one. I think I was off on my measurements just a bit. And I was telling you that I sometimes have trouble with sizes and my lids are sometimes a little bit off. I had two that were off. And so I decorated the top of one. And now I have another gift box. And you could put like a little cotton in here. And if you make jewelry, you could put in some homemade jewelry, maybe a necklace and earrings. Or, going back to the chocolate, maybe a small cookie. You could put it in plastic and put it in there. All kinds of different ideas. So there are ideas for gift boxes using our beautiful, absolutely gorgeous Expressions in Ink Designer Series paper. As a matter of fact, I'll show you what mine looks like now. I cut mine into 4 by 6 inch strips, pieces, and this is what I have left. A lot of little strips and a few card front size pieces. So I'm going to be doing something with those in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my project and that you'll give it a try. Easy gift packaging. So happy crafting. Until I see you again. Bye-bye.